Hi everybody, Jeremy here from Flatware Creations. I am back for part 2. So we were working on our spoons for our bud vases. I have a batch, probably about 35 or 40 spoons that I found. I had to buff them out, get all the tarnish off of them, so I just tossed them in the tumbler while I'm working on these. These we're going to get finished, flattened out, shaped, and then I'm going to start soldering, and by the time I'm done soldering, I'm sure those will be done. I'll go empty those out and bring them right back and finish up my order. I have an order for 50 of these. I always make extra, so I'm going to be going full speed, and I'm basically just hanging out. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I'll keep looking up at the chat to see if there's something there. Otherwise, I'm just kind of hanging out and showing you the process as I go. So let's get to work. Hi, Daddy Ducky. So I get a lot of my forks and spoons from antique stores. I'll get an auction every now and then, but for the most part, antique stores, consignment shops, thrift stores. Every once in a while I find a really nice set. I don't buy too many sets though. I'm running on a thin budget. But yeah, I search everywhere. Even if I can pretty much run through a antique store in a matter of minutes, just scanning for silverware. And because I've done the pattern searches so much, I can pretty much figure out if this one booth wants $4 for a spoon, which is normally pretty crazy. But if it's a spoon that I know, I'll take, and sometimes I'll spend $3 or $4 on a spoon just because. Where'd I put them? So this guy here, it's sterling, so you're always going to pay a lot more for sterling. Yeah, so my Salvation Army and Goodwill is in Burlington, Vermont, and those are normally gone through before I even get a chance to get there, even if I leave early in the morning. So sometimes I'll get the leftovers, or sometimes I'll put stuff out after the morning rush. But I always look, no matter what time it is. If I see one, I stop. This ring is sterling silver, and I don't know if it's gonna come up very well. On the inside, there's a guy fishing, and on this side, it's like a mountain scene. It's really pretty. I ended up finding it under cost. So a lot of my sterling will come from the places that buy gold and silver, and they're just gonna scrap it all. They all send it out to get melted. So I can get a lot of my sterling stuff there, and a lot of those places now are buying silver plate. So the silver plated stuff sells for a lot less. A year ago, I was buying it for around $3 a pound, which is a great price. The last time I checked, I think it was $4 a pound, but I haven't been down near the place where I buy that in almost a year now. Well, actually, COVID, so 3 years. Yeah, probably my number one place that I get it from is antique stores. The nice part about the antique stores is, like, one booth has this spoon for $1, and the next booth has this same spoon for $10. So I can look in here and see that this spoon is $10, and I'll scan for bags, just loose bags, hoping that there's a bag for like $5 or $6. Normally this booth I'll just leave, but this booth I'll search for everything, and normally I'll end up finding at least one or two of the booths where the people are reasonable. Yeah, the heart pendants are are really popular. Okay. Okay, so we're at fire. We've got all these guys prepped and flattened out, and I've got all my handles prepped. So I think I have 50 some odd here. I have an order for 50. I'll just put a few up here. I'm using lead-free rosin core solder. It has a really low melt temperature. Let me get this thing to stop autofocusing. I didn't notice that. There we go. Let's see. Torch. I would just be using a regular propane torch today. I refill these bottles. The attachment for this tip of the day. Disclaimer, don't try this at home. Do this at your own risk. I am not a professional, whatever else. This is a attachment that you can get. The hooks, the big 5-gallon propane tanks for like your grill. This screws in there, and it screws in to this guy. So what you're going to do is you screw in this end into your tank. You flip your tank upside down, screw this guy in, and what happens is you'll open up the valve on the big tank, and the liquid propane will flow into here. So I've filled 11 of these at one time off of one tank of propane. So these up here in New York are about $5 to $7 a piece. One of the tanks is $20 to $22 to refill or to swap out. So definite money saver there. And this is just a plumber's torch. I like it has a smaller tip. Put this back where I can remember where to find it. So we got this guy, my lighter. For some reason my clicker doesn't like to set this one off. So this one sets off my regular torch, my acetylene torch. Sets it off real quick. Okay, we got that. We got that. Let me show you what I'm working on here. That actually looks focused. Yeah, we'll take it. Cool. So I'm going to be using this pair of tweezers. It did have wood on one side, or on both sides, but the side died. And I'm going to be using this arm guy. It came off of this one here that has the it had 3 pieces on it as a third hand kind of thing. Normally I just use the one. It's a lot faster and less annoying for me. So each one of these each one of these little pieces bends. So that lets me articulate this thing. I'm going to get it turned around, get everything out of the way. So what I'm going to be doing with this is I'm going to be rotating it around because I want to be able to see the side. So I'll show you how I'm going to set this up. So here's what I'm doing. By placing these tweezers in here, I'm putting it up in here, and then this actually has downward pressure on it because I start it down here, I bring it up, and you can see it's wanting to pin down the whole time. You really need that to get a nice push down, keep everything stable. So the reason I'm twisting it this way is so that I can see if it's up and if it's tweaked left or right. We want this to be nice and straight. And it does change as you go about it, but to be able to see it. So I want to see it straight this way, and I want to look this way to make sure it's straight. It's a pain in the butt trying to move everything else around it to try and get around there, and I've had to go back and straighten out a whole bunch of them. So I'm looking at it this way. Come on. Should be able to get all of that. There we go. Sorry about the mess behind me. It will one day be cleaned up, or I'll be moving into a new shop. Here's one of the things. If you don't have everything straight, this actually looks the way that I'm seeing it. See how the base is way over? And if you come from the top view, you can see that, sorry, you can see that this is way over. It should be right in here somewhere, and it should be straight. So how I'm going to fix this is I'm going to take the spoon out, and I'm going to bend it over this way. So I'm bending the spoon part. I'm holding this stable. I'm bending the spoon part over to try and get that level. So that looks a lot better to me. So this loosened up. Go down a little bit more. Get that straight. That way. Turn it this way. Make sure that it's straight there. And there we go. Now we're ready to solder. So what I'm doing here is sweat soldering. So I'm going to get this hot, and then I'm going to touch my my solder to the spoon and the knife. Normally it's mostly the knife, but I shake a lot, so I try and get it right there in the seam. Make sure you have ventilation turned on, and you should probably have glasses. And I like a flame that's not too far. You want to be able to hear it, but you don't want it to be pushing the flame. So you can kind of hear it there. You don't want to hear that. But you also want some push. Alright, glasses. Bing. So I try to heat up the whole base of the spoon. And you can kind of see everything just kind of working off of that. And solder will flow towards the heat. So once you've got it hot enough, the solder will just kind of pull to the other side. So I'm trying to heat up the spoon and the knife. There we go. Check this side. It didn't come all the way through, but I know it's hot enough. There we go. My water bottle. The reason I spray it with the water bottle is it sets it. Because if you take this out too soon, it's going to move. And I didn't put in solder. That's what I get for talking, right? Hi, Lou. Sorry, I was having technical difficulties earlier. So I forgot this spot here. Most of what I'm heating up here is the spoon. It does need to stick to the handle, but the spoon is really where most of the heat is going to get. Again, just spraying it. And I have a bucket of water over here. Let's see. Where am I going to dump you out? I'm going to dump you out in here. I love these big totes from Walmart. They're just a couple bucks. But I'll take this. And I'm just going to set it down in my water. Grab the next piece. It goes in here. Lift it up. I still got that pressure down there. Because this is a tall one, see if I can find a larger spoon. So we go straight there. A little wonky there. Looks good to me. Get the whole spoon hot. So I'm just going in real time. I'll keep looking up to see if there's comments, but I gotta get these all done today. Figured I would just come out. I haven't been able to hang out and do too much. My wife's been in the hospital for 3 weeks. Just brought her home yesterday, day before yesterday actually. So I haven't had a whole lot of shop time. Come on, pull through. There we go. She's doing okay. She's resting. Get that all set up. And I always wiggle it beforehand just to make sure that it's secured. So this one here that I had in the water, I'm going to take and just dump in the bucket. Grab another that looks straight to me. Can you guys see okay? And so close. All right, cooking with gas. I do have spoons in the tumbler. I thought I had a whole bunch of spoons ready for these, but I didn't. So I flattened those out off camera, and I took and buffed them out with my buffer. Go. So I'm watching for that to heat up, and I'm watching for the solder to kind of drop down in there. Once it drops down, you want to take the heat off of it, because it will just go right through. Once you hit a certain temperature, it's just going to fall down. There we go. And that one went all the way around. All right, box, you're in my way. So I have 50 of these to solder today. Well, 50 and a couple extra. And I do have some already made. So that's going to help. Unfortunately, more than once. I thought I had 50. Counted out and done, and I go to pack them in the box, and there's 49. So I always make extra. Okay. There we go. And I think I have one of the bud vases this time, one of the knife handles that isn't a full handle. It's about 3/4 of the handle. And I have a whole bunch to make for a show that I'm actually doing. It's a little local show, but it's going to be interesting. I haven't done shows in 3 years now. Before COVID, we were doing another show almost every weekend. So that came through, but just barely. So I'm kind of excited about that. Making a little extra pieces here and there to take with me. I have a whole bag. Normally I do sell quite a bit at the shows. Shows basically paid our bills for 6 years, 5 to 6 years. The internet paid for itself basically on Etsy and our personal website, flatwarecreations.com. But the shows paid all of our bills. The solder I'm using, hi Karen, is a rosin core solder. Let's see. This is a lead-free solder. It has a low melting temperature, which is why I really like it. I don't have to worry about the plate of the silverware coming off. So I'm heating up this area right here, mostly the spoon, because that's going to hold the most heat, but it does have to attach to the knife. So I get them both. And I'm just kind of sampling whenever I'm pushing this down. My favorite part about the shows, Lou, was I get to work with my wife every weekend. And a lot of the shows were in different states, a long ways away from home, so we had weekends at the hotel, had dinner. Some shows were definitely better than others, but we got to spend every day together. And we still liked each other after the weekend. So that's always a plus. There we go, that flowed. Yep, that was it. We were talking about it about a month or two ago. We're like, man, it feels so weird. It's like we haven't gone anywhere. And I was like, yeah, we haven't done shows in almost 3 years. My wife's been really sick, so we couldn't even do the shows. Anyways, they're a lot of work, especially whenever you have as much stuff as we had. The silverware wasn't the problem. It was setting up the canopy, all of my wooden displays, all of the things that I made. It would take about an hour to, well, close to 2 hours to get everything set up and signed and ready to start selling. And I had everything simplified down as low as I could get it, but the spending that time together was really nice. And we've gone to different states. We went to New Hampshire. We did a couple shows in Maine. We went out to Missouri for 4th of July one year. We both have family out in Missouri, so we booked the trip to Missouri. And it's funny, I have a little Kia Soul, little black Kia Soul, and it's pulling this 4x8 box enclosed trailer. 1,800 miles or so. Oh yeah, at the shows I do everything. So I don't know if it's OCD or ADD or whatever you want to label it, but what I would do is I would do all the metal work here at the shop. Where'd you go? Come on, I know you're in here, I just saw you. Where'd you go? Oh, there they are. And I threw you back here. So here's what I would do. I would do all the metal work at home. So here's one of my squid guys. I've got the eyes cut out. I've got my logo in there, and his birthday was 7/20. So these pack really easy, and these end up becoming my little squid guys. So I'd put them in my vise, and then I just bend the tines. Let's go over here, and then I just bend the tines, put a jump ring on him, and he's ready to go. I also brought my my rivets so I could give them different colored eyes. The snails, I do the snails like this. I just get the shell basically done, and then at the shows I just do all the bending. So for wind chimes and everything else, I can get all this done. Here you go. I can get all of the fork work done, all of the bead work done, and all I have to do is attach the silverware to it, which I had all of that done and prepped, everything, the hole drilled, everything. So I would spend the whole time just making more product. So even if it was a dead show, I'm still making all of this product. And I customized just about everything that had a bead. So my little bells, if somebody liked the sound, but they didn't necessarily like the bead, the sound I've already tuned in here, so I know that the sound is going to stay. So I'll just snip this off, put on another bead, put on another wire, and make it, and Bob's your uncle. My bracelets, let's see, I know I have one right here. So my bracelets were probably one of our biggest, thank you Lou, were one of our biggest sellers. So I do all the metal work at home. This is all bent and all the holes are drilled, and I'll just keep the two sides or blanks in a little baggie, and then whenever I get to the show, this is all hand wired. So I have a big box of beads. So I have my beads for the top and my beads for the bottom. So this is all amethyst, and I have two boxes, or I have a box of bottom beads and a box of top beads. The nice part about this is I figured out how I can use one size of silverware, and I can adjust it and make it as big as I want by adding extra beads. So this is a size 7, so it fits me nice and easy. So that's a size 7. If I add 2 beads up here beside this guy, that'll take me up another 1/2 inch. So each one of these is about a 1/4 inch worth of size. So I can add 2 beads up here, or I can add 2 beads in the back. I can add a little bit bigger beads in the back. I do have, this is a 16 millimeter. I have some that go up to 20 millimeters. So all I have to do is just wire it. It takes me 8 to 10 minutes to wire the bracelet. It depends on whether I'm talking or not. And I make my own magnets. So I had all of those going on too. I would make my magnets, and I just have them like this, and whenever I get to the show, I have my stack of magnets, and then I'll have my bag, or my bags of blanks, and somebody picks this up off the bar and they're like, I really like the pattern, but do you have anything blue? And I'm like, yep, here's what I got. And a couple minutes later, they got a bracelet they got to customize, and that they're gonna enjoy for a long time. Recently, I started writing on the inside of these, just a little etch. So this is 1905 when this pattern, 1905, 1906, 1906 is how old this pattern is. So yeah, I was always working. Anything I could do to keep busy was good for me. My wife would stand there and do the selling. The funniest part is I'm sitting here, I'm doing my own thing at the end of the table, and I hear, I'm always listening, but I hear, oh yeah, I'm sure you could figure out how to do that. So I look up, I'm like, what do I need to do? And that was always funny because I'd have to design something on the spot, draw it out. And it's hard to kind of explain how my brain works when working through a problem or an idea. I think I do it okay here on YouTube because I have a couple of seconds to think about it, and I'm in more of teaching mode than creating mode. Okay, that went all the way around. Hi, Kay. So the stamp I had made for me, I tried a bunch of different places here in the US, and I ended up getting my stamp. Let's see if I can get this. Actually, it's probably better on one of those pieces. So I have this little stamp that I had made. It is super tiny. It's basically my logo. Well, it is my logo. So this is what it looks like. It's my FCSS logo. And you can't tap it super hard. Let me find a nice easy one to see. There's a good one. Okay, make sure this is zooming. So right there in the logo, you can see the FCSS. The hard part was getting the fork, the actual tines in the picture. And that was what I couldn't get anybody to do. So this is a 2mm stamp. So my next stamp will definitely be 3mm. I was thinking of putting those on rings and small stuff, and I really needed to make it big enough to where people could discern what it was without a loop, so they could see who actually made it. So it yeah, next, and I got it on eBay. That's where I eventually ended up getting it made. I found a place on eBay. I messaged them to see if they could do that, make it that small, and if they could get the detail in it. And they're like, sure. It cost me a little bit more, but they made a custom piece. They made a custom logo for me. Yeah, so for the logo, I have this logo I designed. I have it in a bunch of different picture formats, and because of that, I just sent them a couple of different formats, and they showed me the proof, and I said, sure, make it happen. And it took 3 or so weeks to get here, but I did my first stamp with it, and I loved it. All of my dogs and cats have my logo. Before I had the logo, I was just etching like the birth month, and so you can kind of tell what year I got the logo. I don't remember what year it was. I think it was 2019, but as soon as I got it, I started using it, and I still put the date, the born date, on them. So right there we go. Yeah, well, I was at a show. It was a antique show in Syracuse, New York. So it was our first trip to Syracuse, and we do work with antiques. So we called and got some information, and we fit. So we paid for the spot, and it was all just tons and tons of vintage and antique furniture. There was so much silverware there. I wish I had tons of money. But we had people who are in the antique business coming up to us and saying, you're not marking any of this? And I hadn't even thought about marketing it because people have been making this stuff for years. So I'm like, okay. And they're like, your work's really good. You should be marking this stuff for, so whenever it gets around to us or the next set of antiquers, we can tell what year and who made what and when you did this. And my head got a little bigger. Here's these dealers, antique dealers, saying that I should be labeling my work so that later on somebody could collect it. And I'd never thought about that before. Yes, Daddy Ducky, I just did a video on my bracelets. It should be in the live section. So if you go to my my main page, if you click on the lives, I just did one a few weeks ago, I think, and where I go through the whole thing. I show making the bracelet, how I wire everything up. I show the beads and everything. Yeah, so that was really, it was really kind of cool, like a validation, if you can call it that. I never really thought of myself as an artist. I'm just making things that people have been making forever. This is rosin core, lead-free solder. Let's see. Oh, turn my focus back on there. There we go. So that's the stuff I normally use. And it doesn't have a barcode on it, but Harris makes it, and it has a low melt point, and I don't have to use any flux. And some of my music is like super slow. Yeah, so I always thought that was cool, and it was that same show I sold my most expensive wind chime ever. The lady next to us, she really loved the bells that we make, and she's like, "You should put those on a wind chime." And so I was thinking about it, like, that would be crazy expensive, because the bells sell for $20 a piece, and it's going to have 5 bells on it, so instantly you're at $100 just in bells. Yeah, the flux is already in here. You still want to make sure that your piece is clean, but because the flux is in it already, it does a great job, and you don't have to worry about heating everything up so hot that you burn off your silver plate. So I'm like, okay, I'm pretty sure I can make that happen. And I had a teapot. It was a really small teapot, but it had 5. I don't like that spoon. There we go. That's better. It had 5 drops on it, so I had 4 coming off it, and then I had my center one. Sorry, concentrating. So I figured out how to use what I had on me to poke holes in the end of the spoon bowls. So right here in the end, I had to get that. I used my punch, and then I used some diamond bits to get it to where it would I can get a hole through it. And once I got the hole through it, then it was just a matter of grinding enough to be able to get a jump ring with come on, a little bit more. There we go. And I got the bells put on it, and the wind chime ended up being like $150. And it stayed there, so I made it on Saturday. So it was a Saturday, Sunday show. I made it on Saturday, and Sunday she's like, okay, you made it. I really want it. I don't think I made enough to buy it, selling stuff, so I'm just gonna buy it. And some of our other vendors have mentioned other stories like that. Even if you're not selling the piece, but you have something that's just over the top outrageous, just having that one item that really is up here. So like my sterling set that I just made, I expect that I'll be holding on to it for a little bit. Where'd you go? Because sterling costs so much more. And then once you get into the different patterns of sterling, let's see. There we go. You get into the different patterns, and the prices can go really crazy. So I found this pattern a while ago, and I knew instantly I had to have it. It was going to be a set. It's a pendant. Let me turn the autofocus on. Just a insanely beautiful. The flowers look like lily of the valley. That's not the name of it though. I have this listed up on Etsy. So this is a pendant, and then you have the matching bracelet. The magnets are strong. Let's see if I can get this in the frame. Come on, not me. There we go. So I think I have this set listed at $175 or so, where my normal bracelets we sell for $35 to $45. So you have this really nice piece, but it's $100 and some odd. But then you have our regular bracelets that are $30 to $45. You sell a whole lot more of those $30, $45 bracelets than you do the big piece. So we always have a wind chime that is around $100. Nice big teapot, really pretty, really nice beads. $150, $100. And then you have our bread and butter, which is our $35, $40 ones. So you see the big price, and then you see all these for less, and you're like, oh, that's not so bad. But if all I had was the little ones and I didn't have any of the big ones, it was about half the amount of sales on the wind chimes. But as soon as I made one of those big ones, these guys would all sell out every weekend. Just keep selling. And then there'll be somebody who comes up and says, I love that, I'll take it. And then then I had to make another one. But it was that show that really started me down the path of naming everything and labeling it. So I don't really name things like collections. So I do birthdays, birth months. So like my dogs will be like 2/22. So they were born in February, year 22 or year 2022. There we go. And so I started marking everything, and it just kind of evolved from there. A lot of the stuff I do for wholesaling, I'll mark. Sometimes I help out other silverware jewelers, and unless it's my dogs, cats, or like my forktopus, stuff that's mine, that I made, that stuff I'll make sure that I label, but everything else I don't, because they're selling it too, like the rings and stuff, and I'm not a big I don't need to mark everything, even though sometimes my wife wants me to. I get it. I understand. But I like to just my normal stuff, the things that I make. Let me get you guys back down here. Focus. Focus. So I gotta bump that over.
Suggestion for dinner?
I stole my wife's headphones today. I don't know if she'll get them back.
They're pretty nice, aren't they?
The only thing I don't like about them is they're on-ear headphones and not over-ear headphones. So they are starting to hurt my ears a little bit. But I've about gone through I have a rotation of 3 separate Bluetooth headphones, and one of them is down to about an hour worth of time before it dies, and the other one I'll get about 3 or 4 hours, and then one is just going strong. I'll get about 5 or 6 hours out of that one. But these are really nice. Next on my list is a nice pair. I found a pair that has 40-hour playtime, so I could charge it up overnight and then not have to worry about charging it probably 2 or 3 days. And now that I'm doing a few more shows and season started, so I've started getting a lot of my wholesale orders back. I can sit here and not have to worry about my headphones dying on me. I always liken myself to Weekend at Bernie's. Kind of dating myself a little bit, but Bernie would only be able to move whenever there was music on. It's kind of the same way for me. If I've got music going, I just kind of just zen out. I can really focus and just get my work done, and a few hours later everything's done. So again, I'm heating up this area right here, mostly the spoon. I am getting the knife, but I'm waiting for that to drop. That means that my knife and the spoon are hot enough for that little bit of solder to drop in there. I'd say the biggest issue that I have with the bottom is because I shake a lot. If I touch the spoon somewhere, there's going to be a solder mark. So I have to get it right into the seam and get enough solder in there so that it gets pulled to the heat on the other side. Oh, I forgot to put my glasses back on. Yeah, the pattern on that sterling was, I went in, it's kind of a pawn shop type place, pawn shop, thrift store kind of thing. And normally his prices are pretty crazy. But I saw that pattern and it was like, I have to have it. How much is it? I couldn't afford the whole pieces, so I had them just cut off the handle pieces that I need. And I stuck them in my drawer, and I hadn't done anything with them probably 2 years. But that was the whole time. That was their intention. Their purpose for being, besides eating, was to be that bracelet and silverware, or that pendant set. The other nice thing about this solder is because it's low temp. See, did I get that back straight? Nope. So I pulled the solder away when it was still too hot. Or it was... Come on. Come on. Okay, saved that one. And I'm putting in enough solder so I get a nice little pool all the way around it. Now this piece is going to be hotter than the other ones. So one, whenever you're spraying this, just spray it soft. Two, make sure you wiggle it before you pull it out of the thing. And I had to cool this whole thing down because it was warm. But what I was saying about the heat transfer is because it's low temp, I don't have to heat up the entire piece. I can heat up just that one little spot and get my solder to flow there. And I don't have to worry about all of the other piece getting tarnished or too hot and burning off the silver plating, because sometimes the silver plating on these guys is so low anyways. Okay. I heard some water just fizzle out of here. These guys have been out of the tumbler for over 3 weeks, which is weird for it to still have moisture in it. There we go. If you get that nice pool around the bottom there, whoop, you have a really good chance of it staying really strong. And I tumble all of these after. One, it helps clean them up, but two, it makes sure that it gives me peace of mind that my solder joints are gonna hold up. Being able to turn this and adjust it is huge. And this is just a fire brick from like your wood stove. The bricks you put out in front of your fireplace, or that's actually lining your fireplace. I just cut it in half. I have a new block coming. I think I ordered it. I'll have to go look. But there was some projects that I wanted to do, and it will allow me to actually put pins in the block to hold the pieces in place, so I don't have to use my homemade pieces. Let's see, do I have one right here? There should be one right here. That's funny. They're normally in my way. Oh, here we go. So I made these guys out of stainless steel forks. And they stand up, they hold things in place. So if I had like a little tiny piece that I wanted to hold down, I could do it with this. I can hold a couple pieces together. I can make it so that this piece doesn't really move backwards. And I have my little magnet back here to where I could put my piece on there. and it will give it more pressure to hold the piece. Block's hot. So if I need to push something against this, I have more leverage. And then I could put this guy beside it to make sure that it doesn't work. But with this new block, I will be able to put pins in, and then it's not moving anywhere. All right, so I'm out of knife handles. Did I just cover all those up? Yes, I did. Couple more there. I was like, where's my tweezers? They're down in the bucket. One of the hardest things I had problems with whenever I started making these was they were canted just off a little bit. So being able to twist it is huge. For a little bit, I was stamping the spoons underneath before I bent them. But I was like, that's a lot of work. It takes a lot of time. Come on, you're almost there. It's just not pulling it. There we go. So sometimes it will pull the solder in, but it doesn't quite get it to the other side. So I just have to touch it just a little bit. Not enough pressure pushing down, just drop it right off. So I'm down to just a few spoons left. Get that straight there. Thanks for stopping by, Kay, and commenting. Really appreciate the comments, questions. If you're still there, don't forget to subscribe. I always forget that I should be asking for subscriptions, or if you enjoyed what I did, what you learned, subscribe. It does help out my channel, helps me grow. I have a video that I'm working on right now that I actually filmed it 2 years ago. I just... Hi, Voldemir. Hopefully I said that right. Thanks for joining us. I'm making some bud vases. So as I'm continuing to learn how to edit, things are getting easier. Oh, look at that one. That fit perfect. I love it when you get these pieces that have the indentation and then just the first spoon just fits right perfect. And gotta get this bent. Being able to see it from this back angle, I can't explain how much of a difference that makes. So I'm using a low temp rosin core solder, and I'm just getting these soldered in 2 places. And once it starts flowing, I just pull the heat from it, and that kind of locks it into place there. And I don't know if you can see it, but my flame is angled right there for that point, right where I want my solder to start flowing. And now I'm on the other side, just opposite. Just put enough solder in there to go all the way around. Need just a touch more. See, I think I have 3 more spoons left, and then I have to go check the tumbler and get all those spoons out of there, because they should be done by now. See, how far are we into this live? We are 1 hour and 23 minutes. So those have been tumbling for probably an hour and a half. Just off. So something will look right and it will look okay, and then my OCD is like, nope, you can't let that go. Gotta move it. It's almost there, so I'm just testing it. There we go. This is probably one of my favorite patterns for the bud vases. A lot of times they'll get flowers and having that little rose pattern on there. Really ties in the flowers. And you might notice that I'm not spraying the actual solder. I'm spraying just above it because I want the water to go down. If you spray right into the solder joint, a lot of times the solder is going to splash or deform on you, and you don't want that. Oh, this one I don't know if I bent over it. That's better. Sweet. Sometimes these are super easy to get lined up. After this one, I have one spoon left, and then I'll probably call it for the night. So if you guys have any more questions for me, feel free to toss them out there. And if you're just finding this video and you made it all the way to the end, thank you. I really appreciate it. I enjoy spending this time live, kind of freestyling. If you haven't yet subscribed, I will be putting more videos out that are edited. A lot of my videos are more tutorial based instead of just theme based. So I'll get, my videos tend to run a little longer. I have a there's, when I'm learning stuff on YouTube, I'm gonna get my daughter has a Cricut now that she uses. She makes cups and shirts and things like that now. I'm gonna get a big sticker made for me that says YouTube certified. Because if I don't know something, you can probably find it on YouTube. And if I can see something, I can generally figure out how to engineer it. And if I can see somebody working on it or building it, I can prototype it in my head and generally get pretty close to their design. But every time somebody makes something, it's always different. Even if you try and I show you exactly what to do, your piece, even though it's the same idea, is going to come out a little different. So this one has a big wide base. So you got to take your time with it and let the solder do its job, let the heat do its job. There we go. Nice, everything's straight into the water. And then let's see what we just made. So that was my last spoon. And there we go. Here's what we just made. Let's find out how many there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, honey? Did you say something?
Chair.
I'll be back. Sorry, guys. Emergency. I gotta go. Thank you, guys. I will see you later. Really appreciate you stopping by. And